Senator Juskowski.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I would encourage members who don't know a lot about guns to learn more about them, become familiar with them, and you will avoid bills like this that simply get rid of features on a gun and outlaw features on a gun that make it look different. All these things do here in lines 8.3 through 8.9, Mr. President, is some people think they look really scary. Functionally, it does nothing. There's all kinds of, I mean, if Democrats are going to outlaw guns, aren't you going to outlaw all rifles? Because you could put these types of attachments or features on every single rifle in Minnesota today, the vast majority of which are not outlawed by this particular bill. If you really think that guns get up and jump off of that table and shoot people, because they don't, then you should simply outlaw all rifles. Why aren't all rifles outlawed in here? This simply does not make sense to me. Mr. President, we need to pursue truth. Truth is that guns don't kill people. Bad people kill people, whether they use guns or knives or cars or poisons or any other method that they want to use. The sinister and evil that come from people who are sometimes possessed, as Senator Gruenhagen was talking about, by mental health issues, cannot be overcome by outlawing particular features on guns by law-abiding Minnesotans. We need to pursue truth. The truth is that it's been against the law to kill people with a firearm longer than anybody here has been alive. It's against the law, and that person who wants to break into a school or a business or any other place and has already many times determined that they're going to die there, if they don't follow that law, Mr. President, how are they going to follow any of these laws that we have in here? The only ones who are going to follow these laws are the people who follow the rest of them, including the one that says you shouldn't kill people. Those are the people that are going to follow these laws. The bad people are still going to be bad, or they're still going to be mentally possessed. Our focus is on the wrong place. The Annunciation shooter had 3 different firearms with him that day. An AR-15, that's one of these scary-looking rifles that the people who are ginning up fear in this state by saying that firearms are somehow going to jump up and kill people simply because they look different. Had an AR-15, a 12-gauge Mossberg pump, and a 9mm Taurus pistol. I'm curious, and I won't ask the author, Mr. President, but I'm curious, if indeed it's outlawing guns we need to do, why aren't the 12-gauge pump and the Taurus pistol in this prohibition ban that you've got here? Why isn't the author, why aren't Democrats outlawing those guns? You're picking the one that happens to look scary, because you are scaring people around this issue. Instead of scaring people, maybe we should bring forward a solution that will actually help solve the problem, because this one does not. So, Mr. President, the Buffalo, New York supermarket attacker in 2022 said in his manifesto, areas where concealed carry weapon permits are outlawed or prohibited may be a good area of attack. Maybe we need to listen to and read what these possessed, evil people say because they're following through on what they're doing, Mr. President. Maybe we need to figure out what the people are doing and why they're doing it, instead of putting prohibitions in law that will do nothing but ensnare law-abiding good guys and good gals with guns. Mr. President, the Nashville Covenant School shooter admitted she avoided another site because it had too much security. There was another location that was mentioned, but because of a threat assessment by the suspect of too much security, they decided not to, the Nashville police chief said. Mr. President, at the Annunciation school shooting, the shooter said in his manifesto, "I recently heard a rumor that James Holmes, the Aurora Theater shooter, may have chosen venues that were, quote, gun-free zones. I would probably aim the same way," he said. Holmes wanted to make sure his victims would be unarmed. That's why I and many others like schools so much. At least for me, I am focused on them. Adam Lanza is my reason, he concluded. Lanza is the guy who committed a mass shooting at Sandy Hook. Mr. President, we got to pursue truth. The truth is that these people have severe mental problems, and they're possessed to the point where they will go and know that that's going to be their last day when they go there. We can put gun-free zones up on schools, and they'll still come in. They might not, well, they still probably will get the AR-15 from somewhere because, Mr. President, they aren't going to follow this law. They didn't follow the law that says you can't kill people. Why would they follow this law that says you can't possess a particular type of gun? I look at page 13 of the bill, 12 and 13. We're actually going to require law-abiding gun owners to register their guns. Gun registration, here it is, folks, are requiring registration of guns by law-abiding people. And you got to check in every 3 years with your gun or your magazine that's over 17 rounds. This is going to make criminals out of law-abiding citizens who aren't going to check in after 3 years because they're busy leading their life, paying the bills, working their job, and doing the things they do. And they're going to end up the first time with a gross misdemeanor, and then if it happens again, a felony. How is that going to stop that possessed shooter that wants to go kill people in a gun-free zone? And they choose, the truth, Mr. President, is, as we learned through those 3 scenarios with other school shootings, they choose a gun-free zone because it's an easy place for them to go and there's no resistance. And unfortunately for those people who are in the school, whether it's the kids or the teachers or people who are volunteers, we place them there with no defense. None. Because they're prohibited from having a firearm. The only thing that can protect them and give them a chance against the bad guy that is possessed coming into that building. Mr. President, if we're going to solve a problem, we got to have a solution. This bill also strips out the ability for superintendents and principals to give written permission to people to actually responsibly carry firearms in schools so that if the bad guy does show up, they've got some defense. Otherwise, they're sitting ducks. This bill makes them even more of sitting ducks. Because in some of our schools today, there are people, responsible people who are trained and permitted and could be there if the bad guy or gal comes in. But we're taking away that ability, and we're making one big fat duck out of the people in that school. That's the truth. Mr. President and members, I've heard it said by other members here that spoke before me that this is nothing but a political exercise to scare people, and people who are in a very difficult time where very bad things happen, ask them to do something. They say to do something, and that's natural, that's normal. But then what do? They give them a false, empty set of promises that are going to do nothing to solve it. And we've been having anti-gun legislation or statutes. I've heard other members talk about it. In the U.S. since 1934, in the state of Minnesota, we had our first anti-gun bill in 1945. And today, the fatalities per 100,000 people are much, much, much higher than they were then. More bills, more laws that tell law-abiding gun owners that they can't continue to be an owner of a gun or a type of gun does nothing. We're taking our eye off the ball, Mr. President, and we've done that with many of these iterations of past legislation, including the stuff that was passed here in 2023 by the trifecta. Done nothing to solve this problem. There's still bad people entering schools. We need a different approach. We need a good guy with a gun protecting people. Who is the first person, Mr. President, when something happens in a business or a school and there's a shooting? Who do they call? I'll tell you who they call, Mr. President. They call a good guy with a gun. And we are taking away the ability for good guys and gals with guns to be in the school with the false hope that when the police show up 20 minutes later, they're going to somehow solve the problem that has already played itself out. Unfortunately, the people that are there will have no recourse. They won't be able to defend themselves. They'll be one fat duck.